This is Dr. Tricia Houston. I'm going to go ahead and post the agenda now. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 11:04. I believe we have all board members here. Want to go through the approval of the agenda. Michelle's saying I'd like to add the auditor's report on the agenda. And Serena is saying, Michelle, it's number 3. Michelle said, okay, I see it now. Thank you. Okay. And so Trisha's saying, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the agenda so we can get the other report up. Ryan, if you can please share your screen.
Let's see. How do I do that? Oh.
Yeah, and Steve saying it should be share screen.
Yeah, okay. Did that do it?
No, we don't see anything yet. Try it again. And then Trisha said, I just made you co-host, so try it again.
Okay, let me see. Is that
Yes, we can see it now.
that's better? Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for having me here today. I know it's because of the different circumstances have been out there. We've tried to get this presented to you guys earlier, but we're all adjusting to a new normal. So thank you for your patience. It's hard to believe that the new fiscal year, or the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020 is going to end here in a couple weeks. And we'll be talking about the next year's audit here pretty soon. But I'll just go over a few things and then I'm here to answer any questions you might have. We issued the audit for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. And I'm just going to scroll down here to the auditor's report. Once again, we issued an unqualified audit opinion. That's basically a clean audit opinion stating that the agency's financial records are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We also conducted a single audit for the federal funding you receive, and there were also no findings related to the expenditure of those funds, and I'll get to that report in a minute as well. Just wanted to scroll down. This is your balance sheet for the year, basically. List of your assets versus
Ryan,
your liabilities.
I'm sorry, we're not seeing a scroll. So can you try? All we see is the title page. So can you try to scroll again?
Okay, you're not seeing the financial statements?
No, all we see is the title page that says Independent Auditor's Report.
Okay. Oh, something paused here. Let me see.
Trisha's saying just for one moment, we need to pause because we're on speaker view on YouTube. It's only showing Ryan and not the interpreter.
Oh, okay.
So if we can go ahead and take that report down really quick so people can see the interpreter too.
how do you want me to stop sharing it or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And then we can, Tricia, we can make that report available later. Is that correct?
And then Steve saying, yes, we can do that later. Right, and Tricia saying, yes, we can look at the report later.
Okay. So I'll just, should I just continue on where I was at?
Yeah, if you could just keep talking
Okay.
through it. Thanks.
Okay. On page, which you can't see now, but overall for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2019, the agency ended up with a net increase in net assets of $79,060. So that would be your overall, basically your net profit for the fiscal year, when you take into account the total of revenues versus the expenditures for the year. That leaves a net ending net position of $1,157,000. That's basically your assets less your liabilities. That's your remaining kind of net assets for the agency is 1.1 million. There's also within the financial statement a statement of cash flows. This shows the movement of cash from beginning of year cash to the end of year. We started the year with basically 195,000 of cash and ended with approximately 154,000 in cash. So part of that has to do with the timing of accounts receivable and accounts payable. So as I mentioned, we had a net increase of profit of 79,000, but our cash was down a little bit because our accounts receivable were a little bit higher at the end of the fiscal year. So that money came in after June 30th, and you would have received the money or the cash after the fiscal year ends. So there's also a statement of functional expenses. This gives more detailed breakdown of some of the specific expenses that your program supports, specifically like salaries and wages, office supplies, telephone expense, postage, rent, utilities. It gives a more detailed breakdown of your normal operating expenses for the agency, and that's on page 6. Following that are the notes to the financial statements. This gives a more detailed explanation of the different accounts, an explanation of what makes up, cash and cash equivalents, what makes up your property and equipment, any long-term debt, fixed assets. All those things are described in more detail in the notes to the financial statements. Also within the notes of the financial statements is a breakdown of your net assets. We have 2 different types of categories. Your net assets with donor restrictions and your net assets without donor restrictions. So of your total net assets, 1.1 million is unrestricted, and we have about 34,000 that is has donor restrictions on it. And on page 11, you can see that's broken down into several different categories. For example, Valley Deaf Festival has some restricted funds. The Deaf and Blind Group has some restricted funds. Women's Conference, there's a few other smaller ones, but that's what makes up the 34,000 of restricted donor net assets. Also is with last year or the year before, we implemented some new reporting guidelines for nonprofits, and there's a new footnote that has to do with liquidity and availability. These are looking at your current assets and your current liabilities to see what's what your liquid amount of available resources is to run the agency. And you'll notice there it's approximately 685,000 that's available for short-term liquidity and availability to run the agency. Then scrolling down at the end of the financial statements are 2 more audit reports. The first one has to do with reporting on the internal controls of the agency. this is where we look at proper segregation of duties, making sure that, certain significant transaction classes aren't controlled by just one person, that there's multiple or responsibilities are broken up amongst different people so that one person doesn't control the whole transaction cycle. And so once again, we didn't identify any what we call significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the internal controls of the agency. And then there's another report on the single audit portion that has to do with the federal funds you receive. There's certain requirements. If you receive over $750,000 of federal funds, we have to do some additional testing, detailed testing of those expenditures. And we didn't identify any improprieties with the way those funds were spent or used. And the agency is using those grant funds in accordance with the requirements of the grant. On page 18 is a list of those two sources of funds that you receive, federal expenditures that you receive, and it was totaled about $1.2 million in federal awards. That's basically probably all that I have. Just wanted to give you kind of a high level overview of the financial statements for fiscal year ending June 30, 19. But if you have any specific questions, I can see if I can address those now at this time.
This is Steve Longo, Treasurer for the Board of DHHSC. It's nice to meet you, Ryan. Thank you so much for the detailed report. I did have a question though. You had mentioned the 154,000 net assets. Is that for the end, that's May or June? What's the end date on that total?
June 30, 2019.
Okay, I just received another financial report from DHHSC, and they said the balance at the end of May 30th was 100. So I want to know what the difference is, if you can explain that. And
are we talking about
last year?
Are we talking about cash on hand?
Sorry, Steve saying they clarified. Never mind my question. Steve saying everything looks good. Thank you so much, Tricia saying.
Thank you for the staff. They did a great job as always, and we appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with them. And we'll be in touch soon to get started on the next year's audit. So.
And this is Michelle. Just wanted to clarify that every year we do have our auditors share their findings with the board, but because of the pandemic and all of that, that's why he's just presenting now. You may think it's odd because we're almost at the end of this next fiscal year for this next audit, but that's the reason he's sharing June 2019 fiscal year, is because we've asked him to come even with the delay of the pandemic. But thank you so much, Ryan, for working with us, and it's been great, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
And Trisha's saying take care.
Thank you, take care.
Okay. Trisha is now asking for the approval of the last board minutes. Was that September or October of 2019?
I thought it was October was our last meeting.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was September or October, but it was right before VDF.
Okay, and Steve is asking, just to clarify,
Serena, do you have the minutes from the last one?
it was quite a while. I guess we want to make sure that we have it correct.
Okay, yes, October.
Okay, and Serena's saying correct. We don't have anything from October, but we do have September.
Okay, and Trish is asking Serena, can you share the screen, please?
Serena's saying yes.
Okay, beautiful, thank you.
This is Steve, Trisha. For Visalia, remember when we gathered there last time? I think that was a board meeting, correct?
Trisha said, well, we did meet, but that wasn't a board meeting.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Trisha saying, yeah, I think that was in February or March.
This is Serena. I actually just found October's board meeting minutes. Give me a second to pull those up.
Michelle said, I knew I wasn't going crazy. Okay, I knew it was right before VDF. Michelle saying, I remember typing them. Michelle saying, thank you so much. I knew it was October. Okay, and Trisha's asking for approval of the board minutes from October.
And do we need to go back and approve September?
Well, we must have approved September in October, so now we're approving October.
Okay, this is Serena. It says that we did not approve September minutes. So maybe let's take a second there.
Okay, so we need to approve both. Okay, and Trisha's saying, I believe because Serena wasn't here, we couldn't approve the September minutes in October. So we can go ahead and vote both of those now.
All right, and this is Steve. I think let's go ahead and take a vote for the September minutes.
If we can, all in favor for the passing of the September minutes. Right, September minutes have been approved. Now for the October minutes, can we please get those approved? Okay, October minutes have also been approved. Now for the president's report. First of all, I want to say that it's been an odd year. And I know it's been the same for everyone, and it's been a challenge. It's been a rough year for me personally. I was very ill for about 3 months. And that is why we did not have board meetings. One of the reasons we didn't. I was teaching 7 courses, plus I was very ill. I missed work for 2 weeks, and it's been a challenging year for me. Plus, now we are dealing with COVID-19, and we were supposed to meet March 13th, and that's the week that the government's issued closure of businesses. So us who were faculty had to switch to virtual instruction, and everything had to be moved online very quickly. All my classes had to be moved online, and it was a very overwhelming time for many of us. And we were home taking care of other responsibilities on top of our careers. So we were not able to meet in March. So now we are finally meeting again, and very excited to see everybody and to know what the next steps are. Hoping that we will be able to have more regular meetings. We will discuss that as well in old business. Very excited too, because people in the community and at the agency, at the county level, city level, all throughout the Central Valley have recognized DHHSC's steadfast support throughout the years. And we are very excited to have received monies from Fresno State and other grants, and they are recognizing the importance of our agency. Also, I want to recognize what's going on right now with Black Lives Matter. And we do recognize here at the board that we are not being silent. We are taking action. We are listening with open minds and open hearts to be able to have those difficult conversations and to have those uncomfortable conversations that must be had. We need to know our place and what we can do to help improve what's going on. Here at the board, we are also here to support the community. And we need to focus on what's going on right now and the importance of that. This issue that we're facing affects everyone. It's not just affecting one person or one community. It affects everything, and it can start here. So thank you so much for everyone who's taken the time to join us today. And also I want everyone to know that we are here to listen and to have those uncomfortable conversations. And that's it for the President's report today. Thank you. Next, we have the Vice President report. Currently, it's a vacant position. We have a very small board right now. Now, Serena for the Secretary's report.
This is Serena, and I have no report today. Nothing to report.
Serena's saying, or Trisha's saying Serena had nothing to report today. Now on to Steve for Treasurer's report.
Yes, I do want to clarify a few things. I believe last night an announcement went out with the DHHSC agenda, including the auditor's report. Just to clarify, that was from last year. Just wanted to make sure that I got that right. Okay, awesome. Well, I do have two things to report today. I want to say October to February. In March, we did have 2 events go on, and I did notice in terms of the funds, we were able to try to parallel those 2 to make sure that our monies for this month for June were all wrapped up. I know last year the board did an excellent job of making sure everything was on track in terms of all the money, so that was fabulous. So I want to make sure that this year we emulate that again to make sure that we're capitalizing on what we do have. So we do have $128,000 and some odd cents left over, and I can go ahead and post my treasurer's report later if anyone's interested in the details of that. So we should be wrapping up soon at the end of this fiscal year. And if there are any other further questions in terms of the treasurer's report, that would be a time to ask. Seeing that there's none. And this is Serena. Let's go ahead and pause for a while and see if any comments come over from YouTube. Feels a little different waiting for our YouTube audience to chime in.
And Michelle's saying it feels really weird not to see everyone.
Sure, and this is Steve. Trisha, did you see any comments come in from our YouTube audience?
Did you want to show the treasurer's report?
Sure. I usually just update everybody with the balance. I guess I can go ahead and do that. Do you want me to show a screen or do you want to show the screen?
I made you co-host, so you can go ahead and share that.
All right, sounds good. Give me 1 second to have that open. Alrighty, is my screen showing for everybody? Okay, I'm not sure if this is the correct document. It's saying the date of May. And is that good? Everybody can see? I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen now. Okay, and like I had said, it was 128 with some odd cents left over.
Okay, all we saw was a gray pixelated screen and we didn't see the numbers.
Okay, Trisha, do you want to go ahead and try maybe sharing that screen? I'm sorry, I thought it was working for everybody.
As of March, is that what the report?
May 3rd should be the date on that.
Steve's asking to please scroll down.
Yeah, so at the bottom of that document, you can see that final amount that I was mentioning, that 128. And then the date on that, I believe, is May 30th, May 31st, rather. Thank you, Tricia. And I also do want to make mention that we did host Martha's Vineyard. I believe that was back in March. And we did have a great turnout of both community members and students alike. And so I was impressed with the crowd. I may even add that that's the biggest crowd that I've seen attend Martha's Vineyard in years prior. So it was a successful event. I'm sorry, what? Give me 1 second to adjust the screen. I believe it changed from gallery view.
Trisha's saying keep going. We just want to make sure people could see you.
Of course, of course. Sorry, I thought I must have hit something. Where was I? Michelle and I, yes, at Martha's Vineyard, we were at the front door and we were seeing people of all sorts just attend Martha's Vineyard. People were even bringing their family members, which was such a pleasure to see. And like I had said, I believe it's been one of the biggest crowds that I recall ever attending. The line bent around the building. It was great. As you do know, Martha's Vineyard is very popular for the jail that we have there. If people are caught talking or just being any sort of modern. And so that is everyone's favorite to look to. And so just seeing the different crowd and different people who were just enjoying themselves in a multitude of ways. It was amazing. It was a great event, great turnout. People were even coming with notepads prepared if they weren't in any sign language classes. So it was great. And a few of them also did volunteer with DHHSC in the past. And so afterwards, when we were wrapping up, Michelle and I were thinking about what are we going to do next year, right? Do we need to change things up? Do we keep it the same? And so I think that's just a conversation to be had. Maybe that's something that we can just do outside of a booth, just to have a little bit more elbow room, just in case next year does have a bigger turnout. So we'll be making a few changes on the layout for next year in terms of Martha's Vineyard, but overall it was a successful event. Michelle, do we have a number of how many people attended?
I was looking for the email right now. If you can just give me another minute. And then Trisha's saying because you're spotlighted, the people on YouTube cannot see anybody else's video. So if you could just shadow what Michelle said because people couldn't see you.
Sure. Do I need to repeat what Michelle just said?
And then Trisha's clarifying, I'll have to spotlight whoever's speaking at the time. Michelle said, I just found the numbers. Do you want me to go ahead and share? We had 549 paid attendees, and we raised $2,745 in ticket sales. The bookstore earned $74.30. And the deaf blind bake sale was $128 in revenues. The AG quilting raffle sale was $95. And that was a record-breaking attendance. We will need to spread out. So some of it will have to be outside next year for increased safety because of COVID-19, or we'll have to look for a bigger venue. But again, a bigger venue will cost us money. So we'll have to see all of our options in terms of making sure we can still make money from this event. Because if we're having to pay to rent, having to pay for other expenses, then we may be able to do outside with just some canopies or something like that. Steve, are you done with the treasurer's report?
I did have one more thing to mention. So one final thing that I did want to mention is Michelle and I were discussing earlier in terms of DHHSC and how to just update the computer system for the agency, how to give it an upgrade, something a little bit more modern, up to date. There has been talk of the system running a lot slower and just conflicting with the higher speed internets, and they're just not working hand in hand. And so we were trying to maybe figure out how we can have some sort of new and updated hub. The hub and the server that we've been using are out to date, therefore are just causing the computers to have just a lag. And that shouldn't be the case using the high speed internet, making download speed, using high speed internet to an outdated server, just making that a lot more slower. So that was one of the conversations that we were hoping to do, maybe making the upgrade to something with a little bit high more speed, whether that be the server or new computer system software for the agency. And I believe there are some that have already been upgraded.
And Michelle said it already has been. Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So maybe then it's just the hardware or the data. I'm not quite sure what that would look like. I'm not sure if there are maybe some older files that need to be updated to increase the speed on that and allow for just a greater work productivity. But yeah, I think maybe our next project will be working on the internet in terms of, are people still going to work from home? Is that going to work? I believe in October was the last time we had something in terms of the server crashing. And we had some funds that we were using to replace what was lost and clean up the server. So I do believe that was back up and running after VDF. And I also do recall that the database was having a few corrupt files and having to just refresh and clean that over and over and over again. And so there was a decision that was made to move the server host to a different website to add a more secure block to make sure that we just have the peace of mind knowing that all of our files and data is safe on the server. So far, let me knock on some wood, nothing has gone wrong as of yet. And so we just have that to keep in mind for the future if we do need to make any other final adjustments or improvements. And I think that's all for my report. Thank you.
And Trisha saying, thank you so much for your report. That is a lot to think about in terms of technology and where we're headed in the future. Okay, now for the executive director's report. Michelle saying, okay, thank you. I have some things I want to touch on. And as you can imagine, with COVID-19, it has affected us greatly, especially with interpreting revenues, and our interpreting budget has decreased significantly. We are working hard though, and hoping that it comes up a little bit more, but for the end of the year. So we will see. We are moving some funds around from state funds and hoping things that are opening now, hoping that will increase interpreting requests. So we're trying to be optimistic. This year we were on a good track, and then with COVID-19 things changed. Also, I wanted to add to Steve's comment about the internet crashing. That was in October, and also that was the same day as Giving Tuesday. So people wanted to donate but couldn't. So Steve fixed that, and thank you so much for that. We have not had any other issues since, so we are very grateful for Steve's help. Like Trisha had mentioned, in terms of rewarding, we got $4,000 from the Humanics department at Fresno State. And we were thrilled. We've applied for that grant 5 years in a row, And finally, we were chosen. They only choose top 3 agencies. The purpose of that $4,000 is for EDD interpreting services and for deaf staff as needed, but the priority will be for EDD interpreting services. Deaf people are being placed at new jobs and they need interpreting services, want to make sure that they're comfortable and know their duties and their new roles. So they do have interpreting services for the first 30 days. Also, we got $5,000 from the Stevenson Philanthropy Grant. That foundation was based on high school students. It was a very neat group of students who look at different nonprofits in the Salinas area and interview us. And then they decided and picked a few top agencies. I think they picked 5 agencies, and the students themselves interviewed the different agencies and granted us $5,000 for rock services in Salinas. It was a great thing. It's the same idea as the humanics department at Fresno State. The humanics department at Fresno State is led by college students. The Stevenson Philanthropy is led by high school students. So it was great. It was the same concept, same idea, and we did some research, and I think it was a great idea. We also received $5,500 from United Way, and we're so thrilled they're back. I'm sure when you guys went to Visalia, they had that meeting and they said they may have to suspend that because of COVID-19. They still did grant $5,500, which will be more funds available in the second round, hopefully. I am hopeful too that the purpose of that is for D-Well. It's the safety and health workshops that can be conducted via Zoom. We're hoping to buy new laptops. Like Steve mentioned, we had updated software and hardware that needs to be had. So a lot of the laptops and other devices that we had are old and or broken. NorCal received federal grant funding from Health Resource Services Administration. It's HRSA, Early Hearing Detection and Intervention. NorCal received the federal monies and partnered with all of the sister agencies in the state of California and the Hearing Center Association of California and allocated those funds appropriately. So we received some of that money. We have a staff member who will be the deaf coach coordinator working with NorCal for family services. We also had First 5 Fresno, and we were thrilled to receive this funding. We've applied for First 5 Fresno for years and finally received funding for $10,000 for 2 years. I think it's 5,000, 5,000 or 10,000, 10,000. I don't remember exactly, but that funding is for CODAs. It's a support group for parents and activity group for CODAs for birth to 5. So now we'll be hosting that through Zoom, and that will meet with the board's strategic goals of serving CODAs. So we are very excited for that. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And that will start in July. So if you know of any CODAs birth to 5, please send them our way and they can join us and in our pilot. Our community is still learning how to use Zoom and making vlogs in teaching the community how to set up an account, how to use Zoom. So we are working with the community and the clients and how to do that, because we are not able to offer classes in person until possibly September. We are not allowed to use the community room or the conference room, so it may be after September. And of course, in terms of socially distancing, that'll allow us only fewer people in the rooms that we do have. In terms of EDD, we just renewed that for $125,000 to continue our EDD program. And we are very excited for that funds, and they continue to be given to us. We were not sure what to expect because of COVID-19, but we are thrilled that we are still receiving funding. And we've posted thank you, and we've done thank yous through the Deaf Bee as well. Right now, we also applied for grants through United Way Merced. That is a new grant. Cigna Foundation, We are also trying for deaf, blind, and senior services. It's called Helping Hands, and that's through the Heart Foundation. So we will see what we can get. We do need services for deaf, blind, and for our senior citizens. Right now, the Heart Foundation is reviewing our applications to see if they can continue providing support in the Salinas area. So we're very hopeful for that. Also on May 5th, it was hashtag Giving Tuesday. Now, in terms of COVID-19, we raised $1,650 for new laptops. We're going to be buying 2 new PC laptops, which we are very grateful for. Again, because of COVID-19, we didn't know what to expect, but we are very grateful for everybody who donated so that we can buy new laptops for our staff. On July 1st, we have a new staff member joining us. It's Marielle Fabiola Ortiz Herrera. She will be starting with us in the Merced office. So now we are back to having 2 staff members in the Merced office. She is hard of hearing, and she will be a great asset to our team. Basically, in terms of agency updates, as you know, we've had shelter in place. That was as of March 16th. And everyone's been working remotely. We had to learn Zoom very fast, the different features, how to share screens and all of that, teaching our clients and other community members how to do that. We've had our ASL classes, we've had our lead classes, and also all employment services via Zoom, so we can continue providing services to the community. Most of it has been online through video phone, FaceTime, any way we can connect with clients. If we had some clients that did not have any devices, and if the client was healthy and the staff member was healthy, they could go and do a home visit. But of course, they were all required to wear masks, and they could not have any symptoms. And they were still required to socially distance to see what they could do to help them set up the devices that they needed so that they could connect with our staff. We had some staff who were willing to go out but not comfortable going into clients' homes, and they were willing to work with them through the window. The staff was outside and the client was inside. So we have been providing services even though we were shelter in place. We had different vlogs talking about coronavirus. We were giving vlogs about the mayor's report, the governor's report, and all of that about what's been going on. And because of the many concerns in terms of COVID-19, we've decided that it's best to cancel Valley Deaf Festival and the holiday luncheon this year because of the sheer numbers. We recognize too that we will not be receiving those donations. We asked for donations starting last January, have not received any. And of course now I believe there's no way because businesses are suffering themselves. So we will try again for next year. And we are giving, thinking of different ideas of ways that we can host activities and workshops via Zoom for Deaf Awareness Week, partnering with the local colleges and universities to see what we can do for Deaf Awareness Week. So if anybody has any ideas, also, we will be opening our offices on July 1st, but we will continue remote services. Clients are not allowed to come into the office except for if they have an appointment. And again, we are buying no touch thermometers. We will be having a questionnaire for them. Have you had these symptoms? And if not, they're able to come in one-on-one to meet with them. But we are not allowing groups to gather in the lobby. The offices are being set up with different dividers to protect staff from one another as well. We are getting gloves, face masks, hand sanitizer, and the list goes on. Our orders are out and ready. So we will be sending out those notifications. The offices again will start reopening on July 1st, but very slowly. We were checking with the mayor of Fresno, and he said possibly we could have some stuff going in September, but it's going to be a very slow reopening just to ensure everyone's safety. I think that's my report for now, unless anybody has any questions for me. Trisha's asking if anybody has any questions for Michelle. Does anybody have any questions for Michelle?
This is Serena. It's not necessarily a question, but again, I just do want to thank Michelle for taking the time. I recognize that it's a lot of work right now working with the pandemic, but thank you for what you've done and what you're doing.
Yes, Michelle saying thank you. And honestly, it's been a great team. The staff has been amazing. They were very quick to adapt to the new technology. And we've always said, oh, well, yeah, in the future, we'd like to be able to provide remote services. And then we had to do it in a matter of a few days. And the staff has been working very hard. I'm very proud of all of them, and I would not be able to do it without them. So I want to make sure that they get the credit too. And thank you to the board for all of your support. Steve is saying if you can move it back to gallery because we're having a hard time seeing everybody. Two people are saying thank you so much, DHHSC, for getting us through this difficult time. And great job, Michelle, in making the vlogs. Thank you. We really appreciate that. And we want to give you a huge thanks from the whole deaf and hard of hearing community. Michelle saying too, I wanted to add, thank you. Thank you. I very much value DHHSC and the community. And without the community, there's no need for DHHSC. I wanted to thank you and so much. We will be making another vlog saying that services will begin in the office again July 1st, and we'll be making signage. I'll be doing another vlog. I went to a dentist appointment recently and they did the no touch thermometer, hand sanitizer before I went in, making sure everyone had masks on. And it was a good test for me being on the other side. Also, we are working on videos now that we'll be sharing with the public, hopefully in the next few days. We are juggling making those vlogs and providing services at the same time. So it has been a challenge, but I appreciate all of your support and thank you so much. Okay, there's no fundraising report right now. We do not have a fundraising chairperson. And so again, we need all of you and all of your support. Now for general board comments. Is there any general board comments? Okay, seeing none, now moving on to unfinished business. If Steve, you could talk about the bylaws, please.
Okay, bear with me. Sorry, my computer's asking me permission to share audio. So in terms of the ratification of bylaws, there was one section that we did ratify, and it has to, in relation to meetings, the frequency and the duration of the meetings, and in terms of different chair members and their terms. I believe somebody is going to go ahead and share the screen. Trisha, I'm not sure if you wanted to do that or me. But in the meantime, the 4 changes deal with the board and the necessity of how many board members and the terms that they are to serve. I do believe it's 4 years right now, but we're working with a more flexible term. If we can, maybe change it to months. We want to ensure that everybody is serving when and where they can. So we will make that modification to increase the flexibility in the term length. Let's say that the president and the vice president's terms are up in the middle of the year, then they can have the reverse of the years. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that those are alternating years to make sure that we have a president voted in a different year than the vice president, just to keep the fluidity of the board going and making sure that we're running to the best of our abilities. We do not want to have all 4 executive board members end term at the same time. We want to do alternate those numbers just to make sure that we're reaching maximum capacity and maximum just operation. So that is one thing that we'll be doing, working in phases. This is phase 1 right now. We're going into phase 2, and I do believe we're going to have 3 phases all together. At our next meeting, we'll be discussing what to do with the next couple of phases. Are there any questions right now, or should I share my screen to explain a little bit more? Let me go ahead and just share my screen. All right, I think that is a good size font. Can everybody see that okay?
Trisha's saying yes, it looks better.
Alrighty, so regarding the document, you can see the red is the ratifications. If you see a sentence that has that strike through, that is going to be removed. And then the following red sentence is what will be added. So this is what we're working with. And it says that regular meetings of the board shall be held the corporation's headquarters, otherwise noted at least one. Steve's just reading. Again, the meetings per year shall be held in an agreed upon central location. We're removing again those strike-through sentences, and we're just cleaning up the vernacular of all of this just to make for a better read. We're also going to be adding the Fresno headquarters to this, as you can see in the red sentence right there in the middle of that paragraph at the bottom. We have yet to decide. We're leaving that open just in case something does go awry. We can go ahead and make that adjustment. Again, we're adding this for flexibility. Again, most regular meetings, we're going to remove that sentence. We're keeping that next one in black. And I believe we'll be discussing more of this. If anybody has any feedback or suggestions to what's already been ratified, we'll go ahead and take those at a later time. And so this is, I believe, to be determined later. And we'll also make this known to the public with at least 1 month in advance. And then I believe at the bottom, we're keeping a lot of that the same in terms of the location, date, and time. We're going to be removing that. And then we've also added, according to the parliamentary procedure outlined in Robert's Rules of Orders, we'll be keeping that. There is just a lot of other vernacular included in that we've decided to eradicate due to just repetition. And we're trying to keep it short and sweet, and we'll be ending right there on that sentence of Robert's Rules and Orders. All right, in section 2, we have special meetings. Those special meetings are for the board of directors, and they may be called by the board president, or if a director, Michelle being the director right now, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Service Center, if she feels the need for a special meeting, she does have the power to call those. And then again, with the standard parliamentary procedure as defined in section 1, that applies as well. Really, there was just a lot of, again, vernacular, so we've decided to eradicate that to make for a more clean read. Section 3 down below for notice, we did clean it up as well. Got rid of a lot of those repeating sentences at the bottom. And again, that's just a notice of any special meetings by the board of directors shall be given in at least 48 hours in advance. Making sure that everybody knows just the proper protocol for that. A notice shall be delivered to each director at the address and/or phone number that we will have listed on the records of the corporation in written format, whether that be electronically or by mail. And again, as for any regular meetings, notice will be given at least 1 week in advance. And that's pretty much it. And as you can see, the rest below, we've decided just to do without. And so those will be the amendments that we'll be making. And that's all I have for now in terms of that. Are there any questions?
Trisha's asking, can you please stop sharing? Thank you. Okay, now that you stopped sharing your screen, we can have more discussion. I need somebody to make a motion, Patty or Serena, for the approval of these new ratified bylaws, section by section. We can have a motion, please, and then we can vote, get that seconded, and then we can vote and have discussion.
This is Serena. I do move to approve section 1.
It's Patty, I second. Okay, Serena moved, Patty seconded it. Now all in favor of the revised bylaws section 1.
This is Steve. I do have a question. So the motion was to approve as ratified, is that correct? I do believe we have to be very specific with our motions. So is that the motion you called for, Serena, Tricia?
Yes, and this is for the one section.
Sure.
And Patty did second. So now we're open for discussion and we can vote. Is there any discussion about this? Can we get a vote? Is everyone in favor? Great, discussion's closed. Now for voting for the ratification. Okay, that is passed. Now you can change the red to black. And if we can get that back by next week, Steve's saying he will clean that up and get that back to everybody.
Thank you, everybody. This is Steve. Thank you again. it feels good to have this done. Thank you.
And Trisha is looking at the comments on YouTube. One of the comments says that they feel the bylaws should be suspended till later so we can have more discussion. So I think that we want to protect the agency is why we're moving along with this, specifically in terms of the number of meetings required. And we will tell DSS it's for safety reasons. And we will be posting these bylaws hopefully soon. Okay, and now moving on to new business. I would like to make a motion to have, so we can recruit new members. And hopefully have members that are outside of Fresno or Fresno County.
This is Serena. I'm sorry. Don't we need to approve section 2 and 3 also as ratified?
Trisha saying no, we're only voting for the frequency of the meetings, and we can do the other ones later. Because we had some other revisions that need to be made, so we'll have to meet to discuss those.
Okay, thank you for that.
So yes, section 1 was the most important ratification in terms of meeting frequency. Okay, I do move that virtual meetings will allow for more frequency. They will allow other people to be on the board that are not in the direct area. Some people may be able to meet in person, some may be able to only meet virtual. So I think this will allow us to recruit more board members and also limit transportation and all of that some other people may struggle with. We still want people to be able to be a part of the board and to be involved, even through if it's just Zoom.
And the board doesn't need to make a motion, correct? This is Steve. I think this is great. The bylaws does make mention of, well, maybe we should add virtual meetings to that, and we don't need to put that in permanently. We can make maybe an amendment or a quick in parenthetical that this is a temporary adjustment. So should we motion that now?
And Trisha saying yes, can you make that motion, please?
Sure. So I motion that we as a board have an option for virtual board meetings.
This is Serena, I second. Steve moved, Serena seconded. Any discussion? This is Michelle. I wanted to add that the reason why we're very excited about having the option of virtual meetings is we're hoping to recruit more people. First Five Merced and United Way Merced have wanted somebody on the board from the Merced area. but that's been a challenge because it's evenings, people have to drive to Fresno. So I think now with virtual meeting options, we are able to get people who are outside the area who will not have to drive to Fresno. Especially driving at night has been an issue. Depending on when people work, that's been an issue too. So it depends on the time of day, what shift they have. Like if they're during their lunch hour, maybe they are able to join the board meeting at that time. They wouldn't have to leave their workplace. I mean, just giving another idea too of how we can recruit more people, more eligible people. And just saying, yes, I like that idea. Steve?
Yes, also adding a comment to what Michelle had just said. I do know that one of, let's say a board member is sick for whatever reason and they can't make it to the meeting, however, they still want to be a part of a board meeting, the option to enter in virtually, remotely, whatever it may be, that would be great for those who maybe may not be able to make it due to unforeseen circumstances or whatever, that they'll be able to join on whatever device they have available. And so, I think this is great, especially those who may not be in the Fresno area. This will just open more opportunities for those who do want to be involved. So that's great, Michelle. Thank you for adding that.
I'm just asking, is there any opposing discussions about virtual meetings?
This is Serena. I'm not technically opposing, however, I do want to clarify. So the virtual meetings, does that mean it's going to be permanent or temporary? Steve saying temporary.
But Trisha's also adding a more frequent option. It'll be a more viable option for other people to join in.
Thank you.
And like Steve mentioned, if I'm gone for a conference that month, or if I'm ill but well enough to be virtual but not to come in person, right? It'll just be a more viable option to give us higher opportunities and chances of having more permanent board representation and to have more of that, the resources.
Sure, and this is Steve. I think that's a great idea. Let's go ahead and try virtual and see how that goes, and we can make any accommodations later or adjustments.
Right. And Trisha's saying, in terms of how to still get community input and all of that with having too many tiles in a Zoom session, that can become overwhelming too. So we'll do a trial for a couple months. Plus setting up Zoom, seeing how we can do the board meetings. I think this is going to be just a new chapter, and there's going to be a lot of new ground that we have not yet to discover. So anyway, just wanted to wrap that up. If we can go ahead and get a vote to have a virtual option for board meetings. Okay, all in favor? All right, that has passed to have more virtual board meetings. Okay, now for public comments. Okay, Trisha's asking now for public comments. Okay, now I'm going into public comments from YouTube. Michelle, can you please forward the Zoom link to Alex?
Trisha, do you want me to go ahead and put the link in the chat box here on Zoom? I can go ahead and do that.
She's just saying there's a lot of comments on YouTube. It's hard to catch up. And Michelle's saying I just sent the link to Alex.
Is Serena still there? There you are. Sorry, I thought you had left the meeting.
Okay, Alex has joined this Zoom meeting. If I would like to have Alex share the public comments as a neutral person. Okay, we did have DAC, and after that term means you can be a board member, correct?
This is Steve. I think the person in hand says you must be a member of the community at least for a year, correct?
Okay, Alex seems to be having a hard time getting in, so I'll go ahead and share the comments. Okay, we'll do one at a time. Tim Spires said, why don't you do the board meeting 30 days in advance instead of a week's notice? And that's what we are just ratifying. It should be a week's notice, not a month's notice. Especially during this challenging time, we are going to do 1 week's notice, but for community comments, it will be, the notification will go out 1 month in advance. We already have the schedule for the board meetings. We have the August, October, December meetings, and we will get those dates out. Alex will send out those flyers, and again, with enough notice for everyone. We have quite a few comments coming in, so we're scrolling through them as fast as we can. Skippy is saying for virtual meetings, I would suggest having just one host signing and one person to moderate. Or if we have 2 board members communicating, we can moderate that way. Just saying in terms of moderators and chatting, it's been a challenge. There is 4 of us. We have 4 board members, which means we have multiple titles to look at, plus the chat, but everyone on the board needs to be present. And Alex Sanborn has been helping us moderate. So hopefully for the next board meeting, if that is also on Zoom, we will have 2 interpreting intern students with us as well, moderating the chat. Trying to follow the chat, plus also the meeting itself. So this is new ground that we have not covered yet, so it's a new experience for everybody and not an easy process. Steve has a comment. Just one moment. Okay, sorry. Steve, what were you saying?
Sure. During public comments, right? That's the only time is when we would need to utilize the chat feature and have a need for a moderator.
You're just saying right, just during public comments. In terms of social media, they should have a hyperlink to participate that you could click on the link. Right now it's not working. And Trisha said we will check on that and see why it's not working for YouTube.
Sure. Okay. And I'll make note to work on that later.
Okay, yes, we will get hyperlinks for all social media accounts that we have for easier access. Twitter, Facebook, and all other social media platforms that we have. This next comment is from Skippy. There's a lot of instructions on how to use, host, and moderate. If people need to learn how to join and give instructions before joining a board meeting. Also, the last comment is also by Skippy. The board meeting flyer needs to add the new email address. For the board president at dhhsc.org. The board should have their own email, and that will be more confidential for the community to reach out to the board. So we will discuss that.
Okay, and I do believe Trisha froze for me. Did she disappear for everybody else? Okay, she's back. Yeah, that was my next comment, that how we as a board can have a separate email.
Trisha saying, sorry, I froze, but I am back. My internet's not that stable. Can you say what you said again?
Sure. This is Steve. I did want to have a conversation with Michelle and Harvey over at DHHSC on how we can set up a separate email. That way we can just have clearer communication with whomever needs to contact us. That way we are disattaching our personal email accounts from any board activity. I know different nonprofits in the state of California do have board emails, so I think that's something that we should do as well.
And Michelle saying, I do remember in the past that DHHSC board president and board members did have their own email accounts. So the emails should be there. I think they're just not being utilized. So I think the accounts are still there, so we can get that information to you so you can start using it. And then Trisha saying, yes, let's check and see if we already have those accounts. If we do, we will post them on the flyer for how to contact the board via email. And that will allow people to reach out to the board directly to share any concerns. If there's anybody interested in attending these meetings, that can be shared there too. And then this comment is from Jessica Rivera. Her son says thank you for his birthday video. DHHSC staff sent a video. Again, she said DHHSC staff sent a video to her son. Again, this is from Jessica Rivera. To her son, Ben. So she said, thank you so much for sending the video to him. Michelle saying it was fun. And then the next comment is for the flyer on the website. Possibly you could add a link directly to the web page when you click on the flyer. And Alex is responding. Said we will add the link to the website. Alex saying he will be able to add the link. And he said he will put that on social media and all other platforms, as well as the DHHSC website, so that you can click on the link when you click on the flyer, and it won't have to be something that you'll have to type in a URL or anything like that. It'll just be a hyperlink for when you click the flyer. It'll redirect you to the website. Okay, thank you for that. Next comment. Skippy is saying the green check on the top left-hand corner. You can see your status, the speed of the video, and all of that. And you can see your video status. There is a green check to see, you can check your speed and know if you're frozen or if you're having any issues. So thank you for that, Skippy. I will check in on it. And the last one is from Jamie, asking how to join the board. Thank you so much. Very excited to see somebody showing interest. So there should be, you need to submit a letter of interest. And you can email that to me. My email is trishah@csufresno.edu. So email that to me, your letter of interest. I will take a look at that, get that out to the board, and hopefully we will be able to check that. And hopefully we'll have a board email up soon too, so we can get that. You can send it to me. But for right now, you can send it to trishah@csufresno.edu. And depending on your letter of interest, we will send you an application. You can tell us more about yourself, about your experience, about your interest. I will present that to the board as well. The board will then meet with you, probably via Zoom, for an interview. And we will proceed from there. So we're excited to see somebody else showing interest. Thank you so much for showing interest and wanting to join the board. We'll wait just another minute to see if there's any more. Okay. Any other comments from anybody on the board about public comments?
Sure, this is Steve. For our first virtual meeting via Zoom, I think it's going very well. We have yet to have any major malfunctions. I would say this is working out fairly nice. So again, thank you, Trisha. We're setting this up, making everything accessible, having the idea to do this. This is great. And it seems to be working very well for the public as well. So I know for our next meeting, we'll be revising some of the stuff that we discussed today to make sure that next meeting runs that much more smooth.
All right, we're getting one more comment in. Tim said, thank you to the board president and members of the board for making today happen. It's long overdue. And Darcy said, great virtual meeting for the very first time. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate, like Steve said, we wanted to make sure that this was thorough and know that the community has these updates since we haven't had a meeting in a while. So we wanted to be transparent and have this information out to everybody. So we're excited that we were able to do this. The board meeting is adjourned at 12:35. And Michelle saying, thank you so much, everybody. She's saying, thank you, everyone, for coming today and for helping and making this happen. Take care. And virtual hugs to everybody. We miss seeing everybody. Thank you so much to the interpreters, too. Okay, have a good day, everyone. Take care. Thank you, Alex, too, for getting everything else situated. So thank you so much. Okay, take care.